So, Jake, how are ya?
I've been doing pretty good, Heidi. How about yourself?
I can't complain. What's been on your plate the last fortnight?
Last fortnight, I pretty much just worked on getting some plaques cut out on the CNC. It took a long time to do passes, so I was able to come home every evening and get one knocked out every day, which was pretty good. It's about a 5-hour runtime cycle for the plaques, so it takes up pretty much the rest of the evening every.
Yeah.
And then other than that, we had a birthday.
Oh.
So it was not only my birthday, it was your birthday and the first podcast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how have your fortnight been?
It's been pretty good. I got a lot of stuff done, actually. Both Ben and I have been really busy with a bunch of different projects, and Ben just finished this burl resin blank thing that he made for a buddy that was looking for like a do you know what vapes are? They're those electronic cigarette things. So he makes custom vapes. Usually it's just a hobby. Sometimes he sells them. So he hired Ben to make him the box to put all the electronics in. So Ben did some hand carving and chisel work on that. And that was keeping him pretty busy. For me, I was doing a lot of 3D printing. So this week I finished a bunch of different 3D prints and have been prepping other ones. So it's just been a lot of like painting and priming and sanding and trimming and waiting for the printer to print. We also, did you see the Lego mugs I've been working on?
I did. I saw that there was a Heidi and a Ben size. I really like it.
Yeah. So I printed those both last week, and then we started casting the Ben size yesterday. But it's been so humid in Pennsylvania. I don't know if Texas has this humidity. I kind of have a feeling in some parts of Texas you get humidity, and other parts you get the dry heat. But here, the humidity is just, ugh.
That's how it is where we're at. Like more in West Texas, you get that dry heat, but here in the Houston area, yeah, you pretty much you can feel the humidity outside.
Yeah.
It's bad.
It's like it feels like you could just take a knife and cut through it. Well, that's not good for plaster to dry. So what should have only taken 24 hours to cure is still really mushy. So I have to wait. Yeah, I even sat it in the sun. It's just too humid. So it's going to be probably 3 days before I can pour the second half of that, which is fine, but you know, kind of a bummer. And I just finished up this morning printing a Fallout figure, the Deathclaw.
I saw that.
Yeah, so I primed
My
that.
guess was totally wrong.
Yeah, a lot of people were like, is that a Balog from Dungeons & Dragons? Like, very similar, but no.
Yeah, I saw those. Those are pretty cool. It makes me want to get a 3D printer.
Oh man, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. I have a couple of commissions for some Fallout stuff.
Cool.
Well, this week we interviewed bassist and guitarist Mike. Say his last name?
Bartkowiak.
Bartkowiak. You'd think, I'm from Pittsburgh. There are plenty of Polish names in Pittsburgh that are very similar to that.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
down here, so we live just outside of a small city that it was founded as like a Czech and Polish establishment, I guess, so to speak, or like an established town.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a lot of last names that are, end with the X and the Wisniewskis and all these different last names. But, so Bartkowiak we grew up with that.
Yeah, so it probably didn't sound strange for anybody to say around you.
Yeah, not at first.
Great. So tell us a little bit about Mike before everybody dives into this interview.
So, Mike and I go way back, as far as I can remember, quite literally, because he's my cousin. But he's quite a fantastic guitarist as well. And as long as I've known him, he's always kind of dabbled in the guitar, but it hasn't been until the past couple of years, I would say, that he's really started pursuing his passion as playing guitar in a band. And I feel like the progression that he's had is just phenomenal. and he's now doing something that he loves, and he's able to actually tour with some guys. And I've just always wanted to kind of get him behind a microphone and really understand his perspective of it, because it's always been interesting to me to see how he progresses as a guitar player.
So when we had the opportunity to interview him, we got to ask him everything from how he started to play guitar to what it was like to join a band that was looking for a female bassist, as well as what it's like to write with a group of other people and how you kind of have to push your own identity to the side and think more like a group dynamic than just about what's important to you. So hope you enjoy the interview. We sure did.
Yeah, definitely. It was great.
Let's roll it.
All right, man. Well, y'all want to dive into it?
Yeah, are you good to go on your end? Got everything going, I guess?
Let me double check, make sure I'm recording. I think so. Yeah, got a good icebreaker to kind of get us started here.
Okay.
What's your mode of transportation to get around town?
Currently, it is a 2016 Ford F-150 single cab black pickup truck. That's how I carry all my junk around. I used to have a great 2002 Ford Explorer, affectionately named Dora, that I used to, transport, all our equipment, bass and amps and, all that stuff from practice to practice. But unfortunately, Harvey got to her, and she is in that big graveyard in the sky. Car graveyard. Junkyard, I guess. That's the word I'm looking for. Junkyard in the sky.
Car heaven.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, that's what I'm rolling these days. Bone stock as they come, no modifications. I'm super lame like that, but
not even a Sanu cover yet, huh?
Don't need it. Just wrap everything in a tarp, baby.
And avoid the rain.
That's right. Yeah. Just make sure you have those weather apps. Alerts on.
Well, so give us a rundown of your vocation. We're talking about how you got into playing bass.
Man, I guess that's gonna go back to when I started playing guitar, which is probably freshman year in high school. I kind of bugged my parents about wanting a guitar, and finally we went to like H&H Music. I don't think those guys are around anymore, but it was like a chain of music stores back then, probably almost 20 years ago now. But so we went there, and I found like this PV Raptor set. It's kind of like one of those starter packs you get these days. It had an electric guitar, an amp, and all that stuff. And so yeah, I just started playing on that in my bedroom. The internet was kind of a thing at that point, so I started looking up guitar tabs and things like that, and just really learning how to play my favorite songs and stuff like that. That's all I really cared about. I didn't care about performing a solo so fast my fingers bleed or anything super technical, just playing what I loved and enjoyed, which back then was probably like Blink-182 and Metallica, stuff like that. But yeah, so that's when I started. And then so bass, got my first bass guitar probably like 8 years after that. So maybe like what are we talking, like 2006, 2007, somewhere in there. I think I bought one off a friend, and it was just kind of a way. I was kind of dabbling in recording my own music and stuff like that, and so it was kind of a way to get that bass guitar in there. And really, bass is kind of super similar to guitar. I mean, you're pretty much playing the same note. You're just playing one of them on the bass, so a little bit easier to play maybe, but still fun nonetheless. And then so how I came to my current profession or gig as a bassist was stumbling around on Craigslist one day and saw an ad that said a band looking for a female bassist, and I wasn't a female, but I figured I would throw my hat in the ring because I listened to some of their groovy tunes and I dug them. So I reached out and was like, "Hey man, if you're still looking for a bassist, hit me up." And my friend Connor emailed me back, and the rest is history. So now I'm the bassist for Heck Nugget, based out of Houston, Texas. We're a indie rock 3-piece, drums, guitar, bass. Just trying to make some music and make some people feel things.
Sweet. Well, you pretty much hit on my next two questions, which was, were you always interested in music, or is that something you kind of found later in life?
As far as music goes, I've always been interested in music, man. I can remember like singing in church, when you're a little kid. That's really kind of my first, I guess, exposure, you could say. I grew up as Catholic, so definitely like a lot of organs and pianos and stuff like that. We had that one piano guy who was, had a big booming voice, and he always played along with the hymns and stuff. And so that was kind of my introduction, and did that. And then of course, high school band, I guess middle school band too, like, middle school band's where you really start. And then of course high school, you get all the marching and concert band, stuff like that. That's, it kind of rolls into it all. But then, kind of in middle school when you really start discovering music, not just what your parents listen to, you kind of start coming into your own and stuff like that. I think that's where you really start to develop, kind of your musical taste and things like that and things you like. So, kind of like I said, going into high school, finding, Blink-182 and Metallica and, other things, indie rock, stuff like that. That's really, kind of where I come from with music.
Who are some of your bigger influences? I know you named Blink-182 and Metallica. Are they still some of your bigger influences? Are there more bands or individuals that have been influencing you to kind of continue on with playing music?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, those two bands are both still around, and the longevity of those bands has just been insane. Of course, Blink-182, they've had their ups and downs, but Metallica has been a metal machine, just chugging along. But man, lately, we were actually just talking yesterday, one of the bands that's kind of influenced me lately is, they're called Churches, where the U is a V. But, they kind of do like some indie rock, but they, have some like electronic stuff over the top, like synths and keyboards and things like that. That stuff is really cool. I think it sounds awesome. And, was actually at a show yesterday, called Wild Moccasins in Houston. They're a local Houston band who kind of has that same sound with some, synth and guitar and stuff like that. So it's super cool to see them. But other bands that have influenced me lately, man, that makes me want to pull up the old Spotify playlist. I know, Magic Man has a really good song, Texas, I really like. Again, like, synth driven, poppy, stuff like that. But I kind of, lately, honestly, I've kind of been coming back to that, 1990s, 2000s emo scene, man. A lot of Boxcar Racer and My Chemical Romance and The Used and stuff like that. I just, can jam that stuff in the car all day long. I do a lot of driving right now, so, it's good to throw on a little Simple Plan and Good Charlotte, some days and just scream it out.
That takes me right back to college.
Right? It's good stuff.
Have you seen that College Humor skit with Mark Hoppus?
So
the bassist looked too bored. Is that how you play bass?
I have been sent the link to that video so many times because it's one of those ones that makes the rounds on Facebook or all the other social media sites, It's like, I feel like every year or two it'll pop up again and rear its head. But I do remember seeing it like, I want to say 5 years ago or something like that. But, I'll have to actually look and see how old the sketch is. But I totally, now that, so I was right. So it's been around. Mm-hmm. That's funny. But, and actually, speaking of influencers, like Mark Hoppus is probably one of my biggest bass, influences. that dude he's just so funny and personable in interviews. And, when he performs, he's always jumping around on stage and dancing around and just doing crazy stuff. And I gotta admit, I do kind of model my stage presence after him a little bit. I don't want to be the guy who's just being the board bassist, just sitting there on stage, just I want to be the guy who's jumping around, dancing all over the stage, and just having a good time. And I've had several people say, like, you look so energized up there, and we'd love to see you dancing around all this junk, and it makes me happy, like, because you want to be entertained when you go to a show. You don't just want to sit there and listen to some dumb band whine about stuff, While we were still in the vein of influences, though, I do got to give a shout out to Brand New and Taking Back Sunday. Those are definitely a couple more, some of my more emo influences, but love those dudes.
So kind of playing off that, how would you had mentioned Spotify? How would you say that like social media or like the new music platforms that have kind of come about, like Pandora, Spotify, just all these different and like YouTube Music, all these almost on-demand music platforms, how have they affected how you listen to music versus maybe how you did when you were in high school?
Oh man, when I was back in high school, it was the binders of CDs, of course, and then burnt CDs and the mixes you make for your friends and stuff like that. So it's a lot of changing CDs out, or if you're lucky, you had a CD changer, so you didn't have to actually take the disc out. You just hit the next disc button and things like that. But, man, I mean, these days to have like the history of music on your phone, that's amazing. I love it personally. I was a big proponent of Zune Music. I don't know if anybody remembers that when it came out, but that was the first like Spotify before it was Spotify, and it was a Microsoft product. So it wasn't, they were competing against Apple at the time, and Apple had iTunes, but, Zune Music was really, from what I remember, and maybe there was another one before it, but like the actual music subscription service where you could subscribe and get access to a whole bunch of music. Cause I stand on the side of, I want to listen to what I want to listen to like at that moment, right? I'm not a big Pandora guy. I do use like Spotify radio sometimes, but usually I know what I want to listen to and I'll go straight to that. But yeah, I think they're great personally. I was really hoping Apple Music was going to take off, really well, but Spotify, I think, just kind of had that staying power and everybody was already entrenched in that stuff. So, it's really interesting to see what they're doing, like with the, artist exclusives and stuff like that, which is kind of a bummer for, people who are stuck on one platform. But, I think they've kind of I think the musicians have learned their lesson, with doing that. They realize it's not good for the people who actually listen to them. But, as an indie artist who actually does have songs and music on Spotify, I can say I do think it's easy to get lost because there's a lot of bands out there and it is super easy to get on all these platforms, which is good for the artist. But it's also kind of cool. You can send your friends, like, hey, check out my band, we're on Spotify, and it's just super Bandcamp. Easy to, Bandcamp. Yeah, Bandcamp. Yeah, absolutely. It's such easy to listen to them.
Can you think of maybe a major milestone moment in your music that may have kind of changed the direction from where you started? Like maybe kind of changed the trajectory of possibly be answering a Craigslist ad?
Yeah. When you go from playing alone in your bedroom to with other people, it's definitely a kind of a good career moment for you or whatever. But I'd say actually, as a band, I think we may be going through some of that right now. I know, kind of having an identity crisis. We do love our name Heck Nugget, but, we want to maybe, go in a different direction, maybe do some more electronic stuff. We don't know yet. We're trying to figure that out, but, trying to figure out who you are and what your sound is, like, that's so difficult, really.
Trying to find your audience.
Right. Exactly. Trying to really find what, represents you best as an artist and stuff like that. But I think that's, kind of going through that flux and, uncertainty and things like that. I think that's definitely kind of weird defining.
As far as, how that interaction goes between you and, the other bandmates, is that something that y'all are able to kind of work out, pretty easily, or is that something that is kind of a team decision, kind of a democratic situation, so to speak, of which direction y'all head, or are y'all usually pretty in sync? I mean, I'm kind of curious. Is it a pretty similar thought process to be in the same group together?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a super democracy in our band. There's never any fighting. We never raise our voices or anything like that. We're not like Guns N' Roses or anything like that. But everybody's super chill. At the end of the day, we just want to make music that we love and that we hope other people love, right? So, yeah, super democratic. And we of course, we take a vote. If somebody likes one thing, it's really easy to vote with 3 people in the band, right? There's always 2 yeses and 1 no. So, the ayes have it, of course. That's how it works in most, voting situations, I guess. But, I'd have to say probably Connor is probably kind of our spearhead, though. He's the one who he writes all the music, really. And, me and Henry, we're there to submit ideas and fill in. And of course, I'm bass and Henry's drums. So, we'll, give, at our parts, where needed and stuff like that. And, maybe make suggestions like, hey, what do you think about this? And we'll try it. And if we like it, we'll keep it. If we don't like it, or if it sounds terrible, of course, we'll kick it out. But yeah, and never an issue with those, because either we never have problems working together or collaborating or any of that stuff. So yeah, it's been a great band experience.
what would you call your studio? I mean, I know there's probably a band studio also, but do you kind of have your own place of zen, so to speak, or is that the studio?
I do a little bedroom recording. So I was actually working on a Cure cover this morning, just kind of playing around in Pro Tools a little bit. But yeah, of course we have our practice space, so we'll do some stuff there. And then we're actually we actually found a studio in Houston. We're going to do some recording there, probably in the next month or so. We got to go practice and get everything ready to go. But, yeah, so other than, the bedroom, I think that's pretty much where I do most of the stuff. But, other than that, yeah.
So is there any kind of stuff that in particular that you like to have like in the studio or in the bedroom that kind of helps drive that creativity or that inspiration for you when you're trying to record music?
A keyboard with a Cherry MX Blues hooked up to Google does wonders. Having a wealth of information at your fingertips. Bottled water, also great. And I have a few like posters and stuff, of course, around. I got my Houston Astros champs poster, and I actually have a signed Blink-182 drum head over here, a Blink-182 poster. My Astros stuff everywhere. A picture of the undisputed WWE champion Daniel Bryan back in the day from New Orleans. So yeah, a lot of championship stuff around. So, but a good set of headphones. Got to have a good set of headphones. I'm rocking some Bayer Dynamics right now, which have the largest ear cups you've ever seen. These things aren't even touching my ear, but they're completely encircling them. It's amazing. I love them. Yeah, and probably my guitar. I have actually this super awesome J Mascis Jazzmaster that my brother and buddy Connor bought for me. But yeah, that's pretty much what I got in the studio.
So are some of those things around there, do they kind of help you pull back to that point of inception when you kind of started playing? Some of the album artwork or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Always whenever I'm trying to think of a song idea or like a riff or something, I'm always trying to think like, what does this sound like? Is this like an elephant, like big and heavy, or is this like, small and quick, like a cat, or like what, so like what kind of idea or, message am I trying to convey, stuff like that. But yeah, I'd say that stuff, like I said, I like having Google right there to look up references or, idioms or just random like turn of phrases or things like that too. That stuff really helps get that stuff going. The internet, of course, as we know, is an unending trove of inspiration.
Do you set goals for yourself as an artist, or are you just kind of going with the wind, so to speak, as far as your benchmarks for growing as a bassist?
Sure. I think so. I always tell the guys, especially when we started coming together as a band, like, what do you guys want to do? Where do we see this going? And I think we had kind of said, well, let's do some recordings. And actually, I take that back. Let's roll it back even further. I think the first was let's practice some songs and get a set list together. And then that became, okay, let's play a show. And that became, okay, let's play another show in a different place. And then I know one of my personal goals was to play at Fitzgerald's. That's a local Houston music venue that's been around, I think, since the 60s or 70s. It's been around a long time. I think back in the day it was a dance hall. So it's been around for a long time. Unfortunately, last year that dream actually came true. We played the Houston Underground Punk Festival at Fitzgerald's. We played downstairs, so it wasn't the main stage, but it was still Fitzgerald's, and I'm counting it. So that was a super cool experience. Was super glad to do that. But now I think our goal is to get in the studio and get some more songs recorded for a second release. So that's definitely what we're working towards right now and trying to get accomplished.
In regards to that, as one piece of a band, is it ever difficult to work with other people, maybe not just your bandmates, but to get in line with a similar trajectory and have the same passions?
I think so. I mean, definitely when you're working with like a studio engineer or even someone who's doing like the mastering for your record or stuff like that, you definitely have to be on the same page as what you want to sound like and what you want that final product to look like. We've been super fortunate when we did a couple recordings up in Austin with the garage engineer, and he was super chill, super cool. We had shared the same musical interests. He was great about giving suggestions and input when we wanted it. He would definitely wait for us to ask for it, which was great. And we've talked to this guy in Houston a couple times now, and we really feel comfortable with him and on the same page as, what that final product is going to look like. So, super excited to get in the studio with him and, see what happens.
So you had talked about wanting to get more, synth with your music, and right now you're a 3-piece band. Would that work with, how would that work with live shows? Would that require you to have a fourth person to come in and run the keyboard?
Not necessarily. You can always add a laptop to your band as that ghost fourth member. Actually, Wild Moccasins last night did that. They had some backing tracks they were using because in the middle of one of their songs, I heard a keyboard. I'm like, whoa, wait a second, where's that keyboard coming from? I'm looking around on stage, like, there's no keyboard player up there. There's nobody off to the side. Where's that coming from? So it's got to be, the drummer. He'll have some earphones in, and he'll be the one who starts those tracks because usually they'll count off 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and boom, the song starts, right? So then the drummer is in perfect time, with that track, and the band just kind of follows the drummer. So, that's one thing we've talked about and toyed with, but, that's a whole other, you got to get used to it and set it up and figure out how it's going to work. And, there's a lot of stuff to think about, I guess. And we just haven't really figured it out yet. We're just, still grinding it out with that 3-piece. So, but we'll get there.
Do you ever have a challenge with, who is leading the charge between you as rhythm, bass, and the drummer? Or is it just kind of like, no egos, I'm just following the drummer?
Yeah, there's no egos at all. Like, I'm just following him. He's laying the beat down. I need to follow what he's doing, so that way we stick together. So, yeah, and again, like I said, everybody in our band is super chill. So, and we know when we're, out of sync or out of tempo or whatever, we pick it back up pretty quick. We've never had a problem with that. Yeah.
I know that you like video games. Obviously, you were really excited for E3. Do you have a favorite video game soundtrack?
Oh man.
Halo.
That one's all right, but
just teasing.
I'm kind of biased right now. I mean, Halo is good. Don't get me wrong. That one gets me pumped every time I play it. But right now, there's this band out there called Bit Brigade. Have you guys heard of them?
Have not.
No, I'll have to Google them.
You absolutely should. So Bit Brigade's a band who does speedrun performances. So they have, I think 2 guitars, a bass, and a drummer, maybe another guitar, I'm not sure. But they also have another member of their band whose instrument is a Nintendo controller. So what these guys do is they set up and they launch the game, and I actually saw them live, which is where I found out about them up in Dallas. They did a performance of Mega Man 2. So the guy with the Nintendo controller will start the game, and he'll speed run the game while the band plays a live soundtrack. It is amazing.
That's so awesome. I'm looking at pictures right now.
Yeah, so they're I think they're actually on tour right now. I think they're coming to Houston. They're doing The Legend of Zelda is their current show. They've done Metroid also in the past, and I believe Ninja Gaiden, however, pretentious you want to be there, but, so, super cool stuff. So I'm gonna have to answer that with Mega Man 2 or The Legend of Zelda or Metroid. Like, those are just, classics.
Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Special mention to Fallout, cause,
that is amazing.
Their music is always insane. Just watching that new Fallout 76 trailer really, kind of the music selections there really kind of pump me up, so.
The Witcher has been blowing me away.
Okay, that's another good one. Yep, for sure.
Cool. Yeah, I definitely. I have to check those out. If they're coming to Houston, that's definitely something I want to check out.
It's super cool. I'm pretty pumped. I checked interested on that event a while ago, so.
Wow, they played at this bar in Pittsburgh called Spirit. It's a super small, divey type bar, but they played the Mega Man 2 soundtrack.
and someone posted the entire thing online.
Nice. Also,
I asked something new. Thank you.
there you go. I'll have to actually, and the reason I was actually up in Dallas was to see a couple bands. So it was to see Psycho Stick, who's like a comedy metal band, but the other band I saw was Descendants of Erdrick, which is a reference to Dragon Warrior on the Nintendo. So these guys are like another video game band. They're based out of Austin, so they can make it down to Houston every now and then. But those guys are super cool, and so shout out to Descendants of Erdrick. I'll definitely check them out on Facebook too.
Yep, not gonna be able to go to that show. You know why? It's August. I just realized it's August 18th.
Right.
Yeah, kiddo number 2 should be coming around then. I doubt the wife's gonna let me get away with that one.
Nah. Just
bring the
hold it. Yeah, just bring him.
Bring the kid. Yeah.
Have her cross her legs.
How did she induce labor again?
Right. Just keep him in there. Let him bake for a little while.
He's all right. He's safe in there.
Well, I think
want to rip your face off.
Yeah. Well, I think we could kind of pretty much hit on all the questions that we had, but like if someone was interested in getting started with bass or guitar in general, like what would your suggestion be to how to help them get started? Like, is there any places they could go or things they could do or something like that to kind of just get jamming, basically?
Theinternet.com. There's so many resources out there. There's like YouTube videos, and I know, shout out to Scott's Bass Lessons. That dude is all over YouTube, has a good program. But just Google around. There's Udemy courses on guitar, that people love. And you can look up all those guys, like on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and, but yeah, there's so many resources out there for somebody's looking to get started. I mean, to get, you can go to Guitar Center and pick up one of those like Squire starter packs, for a couple $100, maybe $200-$300, or you can go to a pawn shop and just get like a used bass for probably like $100, and then a cheap little practice amp. But yeah, just go get a cheap guitar and, start playing what you like, play the music you like. Like I said, I started out with Blink-182 and Metallica and just kind of playing along with the songs and stuff like that. That would be, that's my suggestion. Just get a cheap instrument and start playing. If you like it and you stick with it, then upgrade to something better. But, as long as you're playing what you love, that's the most important part, I think.
That's excellent advice.
Yeah.
I'm full of it.
I'm full of other stuff, but
Hey-o.
That's for another podcast.
I'd like to ask a question.
Sure.
What are your inspirations?
Musically or artistically? Seems like a...
Ooh, give me 3 bands. Give me 3 bands, and then what motivates you artistically?
3 bands.
Or inspires. Go. Don't think about it. Just say words.
Say Bob Dylan.
Words.
I like singer-songwriters. I'm not a big band follower, but Bob Dylan, Patty Griffin,
cool,
and Lori McKenna are 3 of my favorite singer-songwriters. And
Understands, right?
I've written a lot based on a lot of their chord progressions, and I'm a huge syncopated guitar player. I'm not really good with playing with other people because I'm all over the place, but it's kind of served me well as a storyteller, as a musician, to be able to do that and carry my own. But artistically, when I'm working in the studio, I'm typically just listening to mostly dance music. Let me look. Who was the last? Sylvan Esso, I've been jamming to a lot lately. They really get me going creatively.
Cool.
But how about you, Jake?
What was it? 3 bands and or 3 musical influences and
your inspiration.
artistic inspiration. Well, I definitely have to say Cake. Cake was probably one of the biggest band influences from a Left Behind CD album of my brother's. Like that big old binder of CDs you talked about. I remember there being like 3 albums of Cake in there.
Nice.
Classic 90s CDs. And then probably like Flat and Scruggs, because that was I grew up on bluegrass, so that's kind of influenced my interest in newgrass as well, which is pretty cool because I mean it's just I don't know, I'm kind of all over the place, you know, because I like the Cake, I like punk rock and kind of a indie band, alternative I guess they would be classified as, and I like the bluegrass, and then probably my last one would be like Blue Man Group. I mean,
really?
Yeah.
Blue Man Group.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so like, because I kind of like all of those spectrums, I guess you could say. Because I really like the synth part of the Blue Man Group and just the rhythms and things like that. And you know, the fact that there's, you know, there's no lyrics that I remember. You know, it's just I like
those guys are awesome.
Yeah. And so those would probably be 3 like, you know, bands that are like music. And then as far as like artistic influence, probably video games the most, just like in general. Because, you know, like the artistic drive behind so many video games, like we were talking about earlier, Metroid, Zelda, Legend of Zelda, even just like Super Mario Brothers, things like that has a huge artistic drive behind me, and I've always kind of liked that structure. That with like architects, so like Green and Green and things like that, where, you know, just that very structured look is always been super influential to me. So I kind of, I don't know, just like that's always been kind of influential to me, because just the way it's art and math. You know, kind of
nice.
that perfect marriage of the two, of like, like this is really pretty, but it took a lot of math to build this house. And then it's the same way with video games. It's like it takes a lot of math to make it pretty.
You're such an engineer.
Yeah. It's weird that way. It's like to kind of cut back to Heck Nugget, you know, or Mike, and doing the guitar, which we're totally gonna finish one summer. So hey, the other thing I thought about, somebody gave me a really good idea. These blanks that we've been cutting, we're totally doing it wrong. We should have bought some 2-inch foam, and then we can run the machine, and then we'll buy some 2-inch foam and cut it up into 2-foot sections or whatever we need, and then what we can do is throw it on the machine and run it at 200%, so it runs really, really fast, and it doesn't matter. And then so we get the cut done fast, and we get the shape, and then we can perfect the shape, and then be done. And I was like, so I saw somebody suggest that, and I was like, why didn't I think of that? Oh, so smart. We'll get a bunch of like pink foam guitars, but I mean, it's like $14, and you'll probably get, I don't know, 6 guitar bodies out of it.
6 tests, yeah. No, I like it.
Or 6 tests, yeah. So
let's do that.
Yeah. I
still want a pink guitar, so
there you go.
I'm down.
So yeah, I was thinking we should definitely do that, and I mean, like that's that perfect marriage of like art and math. Is like the math to figure it out and do it on Fusion 360 to kind of like draw it up, and then to be able to digitize that into G-code and turn it into back into a guitar, and then take that guitar body and the natural wood grain to like make that pop, or to take it and paint it and like do your own design on it. Like that, to me, that's always been super intriguing to me. I'd love to actually just perfect that file that we get for your guitar, and just make some pine ones is probably what I'd do. I'd probably just like glue up some pine blanks that are completely trash just to paint them. Like I think I would like to play around with like hydro dipping and stuff like that.
It's cool.
I think it'd be cool.
That hydro dipping stuff is so interesting.
Well, now I want to block print a guitar or something crazy.
Yeah.
Or like make it. Here you go. Make a guitar where the back of it is a block print, and then you, like, after the show, you just, like, roll some ink onto that bad boy, and then you can, like, instead of autographing stuff, you're just like, give me your poster, stick.
I like it.
Did you see Jimmy Duressa took that stencil with him, and instead of signing people's stuff, he spray painted his name on people?
I saw that over at Maker Central.
Yeah.
My first thought was, how do you get that spray paint can past TSA?
Right.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time, Mike.
Yeah. No, I hope it helped.
Yeah. I think it was really good insight into the mind of a bassist.
Yeah. I think so too.
Hopefully. It's my second podcast interview ever, so.
Hey, that's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
This is only my second podcast as well.
Nice. Awesome.
We'll say the name of the one that you were on.
It's called No Redeeming Qualities. So they're a local Houston comedy podcast. They were super fun to hang out with. We talked about everything from the origin of Heck Nugget to the Star Wars movies and why I hate the Poros and just everything in between. Why Houston is swampy New Jersey. It was great.
If people want to find you or your band, whatever, I don't know what you shamelessly self-promote, where would they find out about you, you know?
Oh yeah. No, hacknugget.com. If you're interested in me personally, of course, there's michaelbartkowiak.com. Good luck trying to spell that. Oh wait, it totally won't be in the podcast description or anything, but, yeah, when we have all sorts of band social media like Instagram and YouTube and all that stuff. So and we're on Spotify. Go check out Heck Nugget on Spotify and listen to my beautiful bass melodies and stuff like that.
Right.
Cool.
I will be.
Excellent. We're great for making in the background. Just put us on real low, and it's been proven.
I shamelessly use y'all and plug y'all every time I stream on Twitch and stuff like that. I just this is Heck Nugget.
Much appreciated. Word. Yeah. I gotta go make some music and stuff.
Cool,
man.
Thanks for spending time with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, guys.
Not a problem. Hey guys, so we're going to try something new where we do a fortnight forecast, which is where Heidi and I try to guess what we're going to be working on in the next 2 weeks. And we'll take our best stab at it, and then we'll see how the forecast holds out. And like weathermen, we'll see just how off we are every week from our forecast. So, Heidi, what's your forecast for the next couple weeks?
Well, I know for sure that I have a couple of commissions that I have to finish. So I know it's going to entail a lot of 3D printing and a lot of painting. But other than that, I feel like I should be working on my pottery and I should be practicing my throwing. But as we all know, that can be really curtailed by having a toddler, having a full-time job, and having, other housely duties. So we'll see.
All three of which I totally agree with. The toddler, as well as the full-time job. But yeah, I've actually got 2 commissions that I have deadlines for at the beginning of this month as well. One of them, which will hopefully get the entertainment center. I'm hoping to get that pushed out so that way I can get it completely off my plate. And I've got a scheduled delivery date, and it's coming together pretty well. And then after that, I do have kind of a partial deadline for something to kind of get some samples out to a client. That way they can review it and give me a final decision on the colors that they want. And I'm hoping to hear back from that so I can get that pushed out mid to end July. And other than that, I don't know. We'll see. I've got some stuff that I want to try for the CNC. I'd like to do some 2-sided carves. And I think I saw there's quite a few guys on YouTube that have some how-to videos on that. And I think Tim Sway was one of them. I'd really like to sit down and get some time to review it. That way I can successfully do a 2-sided carve on a guitar body. So, because actually that's been one of my goals for the summer is to try to get a 2-sided guitar body carved for none other than the guy that we just interviewed, Mike. So
that's great.
That's kind of one of those in the spare time projects. So
sweet.
We'll see how that turns out. If I can get started on that, these next couple weeks, that would be great, just to kind of get something further down the road with it. Sounds good to me.
How do you want to segue? Does that sound right?
How do we want to segue? On two wheels.
Ah!
Dad jokes on point.
Dad jokes.
Hey, thanks for sticking around this long in the episode. For those of you who are interested, here's the track Shadow Realm by Heck Nugget.